Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be discussing the American action fantasy film Eternals. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. At the start, the powerful entities called Celestials brought forth the sun and various life forms, establishing a harmonious state in the vast universe. One fateful day, an abnormal type of predator known as Deviants materialized from the depths of space, ruthlessly destroying all that stood in their way. To combat this danger, Arishem, the chief of the Celestials, summoned a group of immortal superhumans known as the Eternals from the planet Olympia and dispatched them via their spacecraft named the Domo to Earth. During the ancient era of Mesopotamia in 5000 BC, a group of humans engaged in the peaceful act of fishing found themselves abruptly besieged by an attack of deviants emerging from the depths of the sea. The Eternals appeared, defending the humans with their powers. Icaris used I-beams and flight against the beasts, while Makari employed super speed to protect the humans. Kingo fires energy blasts from a distance, as Thena and Gilgamesh manifest energy weapons for close combat. Sprite aids with illusions, and Phastos supports with advanced inventions. Through exceptional teamwork, the Eternals engage in a fierce battle, ultimately defeating the Deviants. The humans, filled with fear, attempt to attack the Eternals, but Druig swiftly uses his mind control powers to calm them down. Team leader Jack then heals any battle wounds. Sersi then demonstrates her ability by transforming a basic knife into a beautiful metal object, proving that they are there to aid humanity. As time goes by, the Eternals adapt and live among humans, pretending themselves as ordinary individuals in the present day. In London, Sersi arrives at her classroom, expecting to teach a lesson, only to discover her boyfriend, Dane, standing in as the substitute. Their plans are disrupted when a powerful earthquake shakes the surroundings. Reacting swiftly, Sersi directs her students to seek safety under the tables while using her powers to prevent debris from harming one of the students. Nearby, a curious dog becomes an unexpected witness as a deviant emerges from the river. As evening falls, Sersi joins her friends to celebrate Dane's birthday. During the celebration, Sprite, who ages mentally but not physically, employs an illusion to appear older, concealing her true nature. However, the illusion crumbles if someone touches her, prompting her to run away quickly. Dane proposes to Sersi to move in with him. However, she declines his offer, leading him to question if there's something she's concealing, especially because Sprite is always making odd comments. Following the birthday celebration, the trio embarks on their journey home when they find themselves under assault by a massive deviant named Crow. Sersi utilizes her powers to temporarily subdue Crow, capturing it within the ground. Unfortunately, Crow manages to break free and escapes onto the streets. In a desperate attempt to confuse Crow, Sprite conjures an illusion that creates multiple copies of herself and Sersi. But Crow surprises them by distinguishing the real individuals from the illusions, something Deviants couldn't do. In a critical moment where Crow threatens to end Sprite's life, Icaris appears, swiftly rescuing her and engaging in a direct confrontation with the Deviant. The intensity of their clash leads to a bus being overturned, prompting Sersi to transform into rose petals, wisely avoiding a tragic collision. To the astonishment of everyone involved, Crow unveils its ability to self-heal, but it becomes evident that Icaris maintains the advantage in the battle. Ultimately, Crow runs away through the river. After that, Sersi confides in Dane, revealing the truth about her identity. Puzzled, he questions why the Eternals never interfered during humanity's most significant tragedies. Sersi clarifies that they were bound by a directive to refrain from interfering in mankind's affairs, allowing society to evolve independently. Moreover, after eliminate the Deviants, they were instructed to remain on Earth until they returned to their homeland. Sersi reveals to Dane that she and Icaris were once together for centuries, but it didn't work out. Later, she discusses the situation with Sprite and Icaris, and they come to the conclusion that the earthquake and the Deviant are related. They agree to reform the team. The recollection takes us back to 575 BC in Babylon, where humanity thrived under the guidance of the Eternals. Whenever the Deviants attempted to attack, they displayed relentless violence. But the Eternals were able to work together in perfect sync to quickly and easily defeat the Deviants. Following a fierce battle, Jack uses her unique Power Stone to establish a connection with Arishem. Despite acknowledging the magnificence of his plan, she expresses her disapproval of what it could mean for humanity. However, Arishem warns her against getting too attached to them and insists on sticking to the plan. Subsequently, Jack returns to the hidden house where the Eternals reside, openly living among society. Phastos dedicates himself to developing a steam engine for mankind, while Sprite utilizes her powers to captivate children by bringing stories to life through her illusions. However, Druig finds satisfaction in using his mind control to prevent conflicts, and Macquarie for diverging from doing any interference. In the meantime, Icaris and Sersi grow closer and develop a deep affection for each other, openly confessing their love while surrounded by the beauty of Earth. Years pass, and they eventually engaged in the Gupta Empire. Returning to the present, Sersi, Sprite, and Icaris embark on a journey to Ajax's ranch in South Dakota, only to discover her lifeless body outside her residence. Sprite, overcome with grief, conjures an illusion to adore the memories of their beloved friend, and concludes that Crow was responsible for Ajax's death, having absorbed her powers, which enabled its self-healing. As Sersi draws near to mourn Ajax's lifeless body, the celestial-given stone within Ajax emerges and affixes itself onto Sersi. In that momentary encounter, Sersi glimpses Arishem's presence and hears the enigmatic words, "It is nearly time," before he vanishes from her view. Sprite highlights that Ajax has designated Sersi as the chosen heir, while Icaris harbors concerns that it might be Mod Wyre. This triggers another recollection. In 1521 AD, within the ancient city of Tenochtitlan, the group confronts the remaining Deviants in a fierce battle. Amidst the human war, Ajax resolutely refuses to let Druig stop their mission. Suddenly, Thena experiences a horrible sickness and foretells the impending demise of everyone. Her eyes undergo a transformation, and she unexpectedly attacks her friends, catching them off guard and inflicting injuries due to the element of surprise. Purposefully, Ajax allows herself to be harmed, seizing the opportunity to approach Thena and employ her powers to cleanse her mind of this unaccountable impulsive reaction. Despite Gilgamesh's attempt to intervene, Thena still attacks. Gilgamesh engages in a fight with Thena and eventually subdues her. Later, Thena regains consciousness but has no recollection of what happened. It is revealed that Thena is afflicted with Mod Wyre, a condition where her ancient memories collapse inward, causing her to become mentally unstable. Mod Wyre has no known cure, leaving the complete deletion of Thena's memories as the sole means to restore her well-being, according to Ajax's belief, for the sake of safety. The remaining members of the group are unwilling to sacrifice the Thena they love, leading to Druig confronting Ajax and raising doubts about her leadership ability. Druig is exhausted from witnessing humans harm one another without anyone stepping in. Suddenly, he uses his powers to stop the war and decides to go solo, stating that the only way to make him stop is by killing him. Gilgamesh volunteers to be responsible for Thena, leading Ajax to grant permission for everyone to live among humans. With the threat of the Deviants already eliminated, they can now seek their own individual purposes while awaiting communication from their home. Returning to the present timeline, Sersi, Sprite, and Icaris journey to Mumbai in search of Kingo, who has achieved great fame as a Bollywood superstar. Kingo's valet, Karun, has been aware of Kingo's secret and has been assisting him for many years. When the trio explains the situation to Kingo, he initially declines their request, expressing his enjoyment of his current life. However, Karun manages to convince Kingo to embrace his role as a hero, reminding him of the admiration he would receive. In a surprising turn, Karun agrees to accompany Kingo and document their journey in a documentary style. They use Kingo's private jet. The group travels to Australia. During the journey, Sprite expresses frustration towards Kingo for seemingly abandoning her in hunt of fame. However, Kingo reveals that he became an actor because of the inspiration Sprite's storytelling provided him. Upon reaching Australia, they track a series of deviant carcasses, ultimately leading them to Thena and Gilgamesh residing in their private countryside home. Gilgamesh has become good at cooking and looking after the house, while Thena spends her time creating creepy drawings. When Thena notices their arrival, she has another confused moment and tries to attack them, warning that everyone on Earth will soon die. However, Gilgamesh intervenes and prevents her from causing harm. Sprite uses her illusion powers to help Thena regain her true identity and clear her mind. Sersi takes a moment to examine Thena's drawings and experiences a sense of regret for not being able to reconnect with Arishem. However, Gilgamesh offers words of encouragement and reminds her that listening is more important than anything else. Sersi heeds his advice, finding a moment to sit down and relax. Finally, the stone she possesses is activated, transporting her to appear directly in front of Arishem. Arishem reveals to Sersi that the emergence, a significant event, is unfolding. He imparts the true purpose of the Eternals, explaining that they were sent to facilitate the birth of the celestial Tiamat. Arishem informs Sersi that new celestials emerge every few millennia, and this process has occurred on other planets before Earth. The emergence of celestials is triggered by the existence of intelligent life. However, this process on Earth was disrupted by the Deviants' assault. Now that the Eternals have eliminated the Deviants, Arishem declares that the time has come to destroy all life on Earth to pave the way for the birth of Tiamat. Sersi is struck with shock upon learning the truth, while Arishem justifies the revelation by stating that it is simply the natural cycle of creation for their species. Arishem proceeds to disclose that Olympia was never real, and that Sersi and her fellow Eternals are artificial beings crafted by the Celestials using the World Forge. Unfortunately, Sersi's inability to recall this information arises from the fact that the memories of the Eternals are deliberately erased after each emergence. Furthermore, Arishem designed the Deviants to maintain a balance between creatures that hunt and those that are hunted, enabling the growth of intelligent life. However, Arishem's control over the Deviants stumbled, causing them to transform into predators instead. To prevent the Eternals from evolving like other beings, Arishem imposed limitations on their ability to progress. Afterward, Sersi shares the newfound information with the team. They come to understand that Thena's ailment is actually their own ancient memories resurfacing, revealing the truth to them. The team is filled with shock and discomfort upon discovering about their artificial nature, but the majority of them gather their resolve to seek a solution to save the people of Earth. They realize that finding Druig is crucial, as they hope he can harness his powers to influence the mind of Tiamat. Their next destination is the Amazon, where Druig resides in a village, leading a community that embraces complete harmony and tranquility. He refuses to aid the team in their quest, feeling deceived by the truth of his artificial existence. Later that evening, Kingo consoles Sprite for her unconditional love for Akaris, which she cannot act on due to her youthful appearance. However, Sprite becomes very angry when she realizes Karun is recording their conversation and breaks his camera. Meanwhile, Sersi reaches out to Dane to check on him, and Akaris becomes jealous, leading Sersi to question why he left her. Just as Akaris tries to explanation everything, Crow unexpectedly appears and forcibly removes him from the scene. In the midst of this disruption, additional Deviants launch an attack on the village, prompting the Eternals to swiftly engage in combat. In order to protect the humans, Sersi reinforces a building, providing them with a secure hiding place. She then employs her powers to manipulate trees, using them to trap and obstruct the Deviants. Meanwhile, Druig takes control of the humans, turning them into a unified army. However, Sersi intervenes swiftly, urging Druig to cease his control and ensure the safety of the humans by sending them to a place of refuge. Amidst the chaos, Kingo seizes a moment to charge up his energy beam. With precise aim, he delivers a fatal blow to one of the Deviants, eliminating the threat. Akaris and Crow engage in a fierce fight, with Crow overpowering Akaris and attempting to steal his powers. But then Gilgamesh steps into battle Crow, leaving Akaris free. However, Thena, in her unstable state, turns on Akaris and attacks him. Gilgamesh quickly recognizes the situation and intervenes, coming to Thena's aid and comforting her, successfully calming her down. Meanwhile, Akaris targets a flying Deviant and brings it down to the village, using his eye beams to eliminate multiple Deviants. Suddenly, a Deviant catches Akaris off guard, but Sersi quickly intervenes and amazes everyone by using her newfound ability to transform the Deviant into a tree. This is a power she hadn't been able to do before. While Gilgamesh is immersed in his battle against Crow, his focus on protecting Thena leaves him vulnerable, and Crow takes advantage of this opportunity to kill Gilgamesh and absorb his powers. As a result, Crow undergoes a transformation, adopting a more human appearance and acquiring the ability to speak English. Crow, now accusing the Eternals of being murderers. However, upon Akari's arrival, Crow retreats and flees the scene. Meanwhile, Thena rushes to Gilgamesh's side, cradling him in her arms as he imparts his final words, urging her to always remember. After that, the Eternals gather to honor Gilgamesh by cremating his body, and Thena bids her farewell by scattering his ashes into the river. After realizing that exerting control over others would make him no different from a Deviant, Druig decides to join the mission. However, he acknowledges that his powers alone are insufficient to manipulate a Celestial, so the Eternals must locate Phastos for assistance. Another recollection emerges, transporting them to the year 1945 in Hiroshima, moments after the tragic atomic bomb was released. Phastos was standing there with a Jack, feeling deeply sad and regretful for his role in aiding the advancement of human technology, which only led to their continued killing of each other. At this point, Phastos becomes disillusioned with humanity and decides to distance himself from it. Fast forward to the present, the team reaches Chicago and is taken aback to find Phastos residing in a suburban home with a husband and a son. Upon hearing the narrative, Phastos reveals that his husband restored his faith in humanity. However, he hesitates to leave his family behind for a perilous mission. However, his husband encourages him to proceed, emphasizing the importance of securing a future for them and their son. The Eternals then journey to Iraq, employing their abilities to release the Domo from its secret refuge. McCary has resided there for an extended period, utilizing her speed solely for acquiring provisions. Phastos proposes the notion of combining everyone's powers through the Unimind, enabling them to transfer their abilities to Druig for the purpose of controlling Tiamat's mind. Kingo expresses disbelief regarding this plan, joined by Sprite, who states their preference for following Ikaris, who evidently doubts on uncertainties of his own. However, Ikaris confides in Kingo, revealing that he is not the person Kingo believes him to be. Ikaris then immerses into another memory, taking him back 6 days prior. In this recollection, a Jack visits Ikaris to disclose that the long-awaited emergence is imminent, exposing the fact that Ikaris has been aware of the truth all along. After spending enough time among humans, a Jack develops the belief that the mission should be abandoned as humanity and the Earth are inherently beautiful and deserving of a better fate. However, Ikaris reveals that he has something to show a Jack before making any final decisions and takes her to Alaska. At a frozen lake, a group of Deviants resurfaces, and Ikaris reveals that they had been frozen for centuries under the ice. The melting of the glacier was caused by the increasing heat in Earth's core, which is linked to the impending upcoming emergence. Then Ikaris reveals his loyalty to Arishem and forcefully pushes a Jack into the lake, where Crow swiftly captures her and absorbs her powers. Later, Ikaris takes a Jack's body to the farmhouse, leaving it behind for Sersi to discover at a later time. As Ikaris grieves, he unconsciously shoots beams of energy that ignite a fire. In the present, Ikaris confesses his love to Sersi, who comforts him by holding his hand, but doesn't interchange his feelings. Suddenly, Sersi senses the activation of the stone inside her, signaling the impending emergence. Phastos assigns McCary the task of finding the origin of the emergence, utilizing her super speed to search the entire Earth to a specific location, a volcanic area in the Indian Ocean. Meanwhile, Ikaris wears his armor and confronts the team, expressing his regret over a Jack's decision to choose Sersi. He launches an attack, revealing that he has been aware of everything since their departure from Babylon, causing the team to realize that Ikaris was responsible for a Jack's death. Upon Makari's return with the crucial information, Ikaris attempts to attack her, but Kingo selflessly intervenes and takes the blow instead. Since Kingo no longer sees Ikaris as his leader, he feels the urge to retaliate against him. However, Sprite unexpectedly declares her support for Kingo and creates an illusion to help them escape. After their successful escape, Kingo makes a decision to leave with Karun. He believes that saving Earth may not be necessary or beneficial because the birth of Celestials signifies the creation of new planets as well. With missing team members, the group realizes they need a new plan. Druig suggests utilizing Sersi's ability to transform Deviants into trees. However, Sersi remains hesitant due to her doubts about why a Jack chose her. Thena steps in to explain that a leader protects those they care about, and a Jack recognized Sersi's love for humanity from the beginning. Determined and prepared for battle, Sersi agrees to have Phastos remove the special stone from her body to power the Unimind. The Eternals journey to the volcano, and Ikaris instructs Sprite to safeguard the emergence while he invade into the ship. Thena engages in a battle with Ikaris to divert his attention, allowing the rest of the team to activate the Unimind, which successfully neutralizes the volcano. However, Ikaris vehemently opposes their actions and proceeds to attack them. He first targets Druig, using his eye beams to fatally strike him, and then sets his sights on the ship, causing it to crash. Filled with rage, McCary engages in an intense battle with Ikaris, all while the volcano continues to erupt, signaling the beginning of the emergence. Meanwhile, Sersi races up the volcano, hoping to find a way to intervene, while Thena and Gilgamesh join forces with McCary in their attempt to subdue Ikaris, but his power proves overwhelming, and their combined efforts fall short in stopping him. Suddenly, Crow appears on the scene and joins the ongoing fight, specifically targeting Ikaris. However, the rest of the team doesn't want Crow to become stronger, so they immediately launch their own attacks against it. Makari creates a swirling tornado made of dirt, trapping Crow within it, while Thena delivers a powerful kick, sending Crow flying into a nearby cave. Meanwhile, Ikari's attempts to pursue Sersi, but Phastos intervenes by deploying a specially designed trap that immobilizes him. However, inside the cave, Crow manipulates Thena by imitating Gilgamesh's voice, causing her to momentarily lose her focus and defenses. But just as Crow is about to take Thena's powers, it mistakenly says Gilgamesh's word remember. This triggers Thena to snap out of her trance and swiftly defeat Crow. Meanwhile, at the volcano's summit, Sersi is surprised to encounter a Jack, only to be unexpectedly stabbed. It is revealed that a Jack was merely an illusion created by Sprite, who has harbored jealousy towards Sersi for experiencing adulthood. Sprite readies her powers to hasten the emergence, but Druig intervenes and knocked out her. As the situation intensifies, the ground trembles, and the sea becomes turbulent, signaling the emergence of Tiamat from the volcano. Sersi stands on Tiamat and tries to use her powers to stop him. Just then, Ikari manages to break free from Phastos' trap and goes after Sersi. However, when Ikari sees Sersi, he is flooded with memories and cannot bring himself to harm her. Sersi seizes the opportunity to activate and use the Unimind, which enhances her powers. She then uses her amplified abilities to turn Tiamat into a massive statue made of rock. Recognizing his error, Ikari tearfully apologizes and ascends into space, where he allows himself to be consumed by the sun, fulfilling the fate associated with his name. Sprite is heartbroken by his departure. However, Sersi, who still possesses some power remaining from the Unimind, utilizes it to strip Sprite of her immortality, granting her the opportunity to experience a regular human life. After completing their mission, the Eternals go their separate ways once more. Thena accompanies Mac Carey and Druig on the Domo as they set out to search for other Eternals. While Phastos reunites with his family, Sprite enrolls in a boarding school, and Kingo resumes his career in movies. Sersi meets up with Dane and he accepts her without any judgment or reservation. Out of nowhere, Arishem emerges in the sky and calls for the presence of Sersi, Kingo, and Phastos. He informs them that he is aware of their betrayal and declares his intention to take them away for judgment. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and feel free to explore our other recaps.